Hello, grade 7. This is Mrs. Lopez. We are in lesson 2 in module 3, generating equivalent expressions. This is only day 1. Our lesson 2 is going to last for another 2 days. This is day 1. And it is important for you to understand how we can write equivalent expressions. So exercise 1 has to do with additive inverse that you already know. Additive inverse have a sum of 0. So when we add 1 and -1, together when we add them, it's going to be a 0. Those are additive inverse from module 2. We already know them. Let's look at 3. What is the opposite of 3? -3. And what happens when I add them together? 3 plus -3 equals 0. -7. What is the opposite of -7? 7. And if I put them together and add them, it's going to be 0 again. What about -1/2? -1/2, the opposite of it is 1/2. And when I add -1/2 plus +1/2, I will get a 0. What about x? What will be the opposite of x? -x. Whatever number x is, 5 or 10 or 100, the opposite of it is going to be -5 or 10 or 100. When I add x and -x, together they become 0. Any number that I can put instead of x, and if I add the opposite of it, it's going to become 0. What about 3x? What is the opposite of 3x? -3x. When I add 3x and -3x, it's going to result in 0 again. No matter what x is. Let's say x is apples again. So I have 3 apples, and I'm adding -3 apples, or I'm subtracting 3 apples. The answer is going to be 0. Let's look at x plus 3. X plus 3 is 2 different terms. But what will be the opposite of x plus 3? If I put it like this in parentheses, it's going to be the opposite of x plus 3. And when I have the opposite of x plus 3, I really have -x plus -3. Do you remember the opposite of the sum is the sum of the opposites from lesson 8 in module 2? The opposite of this sum is the sum of the opposite rational numbers. Okay, so when I have x plus 3 plus the opposite of x plus 3, it's going to be 0 because I have x plus 3 plus -x and plus -3. X plus -x is a 0. 3 plus -3 is a 0. Right? Let's look at 3x minus 7. Right away, change your subtraction into addition of the opposite. And what will be the opposite of that expression? The opposite of 3x plus -7 is going to be the opposite of 3x plus -7. Okay, so now how can I make sure that I'm doing the right thing? The opposite of the sum is the sum of the opposites. So now I have -3x plus the opposite of -7 is going to be 7. Okay, so the opposite of this is the sum of the opposite numbers. That is where module 2, lesson 8 comes really important. Okay, so 3x plus -7 plus the opposite of it, -3x plus 7 equals 0 because 3x plus -3x equals 0 and -7 plus 7 equals 0. Okay, so let's look at subtracting these expressions. Very important lesson. So when I see subtraction, I always add the opposite, right? plus the opposite. So here I have 40 plus 9 plus. Now the opposite of the sum is the sum of the opposites. So I'm changing now both of my terms here into their opposites. And it will be negative 30 and negative 2. I got 4 terms separated by the plus sign. Let's see if that works if I'm going to add them together. 40 plus 9 is 49. 30 plus 2 is 32. 49 minus 32 is going to be 17. Let's see if that will work in this case. 40 plus 9 is 49. Negative 30 plus negative 2 is negative 32. So together is going to be 17. That works. So if that works using our regular constants, then it should work using our variables. So now let's look at all the subtraction and change them into addition of the opposite. Plus negative 4 plus the opposite of this sum. So now when I open my parentheses and change them all into addition problems, I will see the following. 3x plus 5y plus negative 4 plus negative 4x plus negative 11. The opposite of the sum equals the sum of the opposites. Okay, so now let's look at like terms that we can combine to make it written in standard form. So I have 3x and negative 4x, which is negative x, or negative 1x if you want to show it. 3 plus negative 4 is negative 1, and here I have negative 1x written down. I also have 5y, and I have nothing to add it to, so I'm just bringing it down, and I also have negative 4 and negative 11. When I combine negative 4 and negative 11, I will have negative 15 plus negative 15. Okay? That is first two problems. And this is your example. Now we have example 2. Still combining like terms, and now I have more of these subtraction problems. So I would like you to start without me, and then when you are done, let's compare our answers. Okay, so first thing you want to do is to change all the subtraction problems into addition of the opposite. Okay, and when we are done with it, we are going to add like terms. So 10x, I'm adding to negative x. 10x plus negative 1x is 9x. 5 plus negative 2 is going to be 3. So I got 9x plus 3. Let's look at second one. I'm changing my subtraction into addition of the opposite. And since I have all the addition, it doesn't matter which I'm adding. These parentheses don't matter anymore because now it's all addition. So 3x plus 2x I can combine and I will have 5x. Negative 8 and 12 I can combine, it will become a 4. So I have 5x plus 4. Let's look at this one. This one only has subtraction. So we need to make sure that we change them all into addition of the opposite so I can combine like terms. So I'm changing this plus into plus minus into plus negative. This one I'm changing plus the opposite. This subtraction I'm changing plus the opposite. So now I have only addition, and this way I can combine my like terms. I see 8x and negative 4x that I can combine. Oh, by the way, I need to open this parenthesis because I have the opposite of the sum. So let's do that first. The opposite of the sum is very important because you can switch these without understanding it. So I'm going to rewrite that 8x. Now I have plus. The opposite of 4x is negative 4x. And the opposite of negative 6 is now positive 6. And then I have plus negative 20. Now let's combine them. 8x plus negative 4x is 4x. 6 plus negative 20 is going to be negative 14. 4x plus negative 14 is our answer. Here I already have all addition problems, so I don't have to worry about parentheses right here. There are 4 terms, negative 7x, 6, 3x, and 4. So negative 7x, and 3x I can combine, and it will be negative 4x. And then I have 6 and 4, and that's a 10. Done. Negative 4x plus 10. Next one. 5 minus the sum of 2x plus 7. This minus has to change into plus, the opposite of the sum of 2x plus 7. So I'm going to rewrite it right now using the sum of the opposites. 5 plus 2x will change into the opposite negative 2x, and 7 will change into negative 7. The only things I can combine here now is 5 and negative 7. That is negative 2. Negative 2x will stay as it is. Negative 2 plus negative 2x. Let's look at this one. Here I also have only subtraction, so I need to change these. And I need to rewrite it because I have the opposite of the sum. So 4x plus negative 3x, because the opposite of 3x is negative 3x. And the opposite of negative 8 is positive 8. Okay, so now I have 8x and negative 3x, 4x and negative 3x. That is 1x, and I can just write x because that is 1x. And then plus 8. 8 is not like term with any of these. Okay, next one. Negative 4x plus 3x minus 5 plus 12. 3x minus 5, we need to change into 3x plus negative 5. And now I have only addition. It means I have 4 separate terms, negative 4x, 3x, negative 5, and 12. Now I can combine them because now there are some like terms that I can put together. Negative 4x and 3x is negative 1x, or negative x. And I have negative 5 and 12. Let's mark them differently. Negative 5 and 12 is 7. Negative x plus 7. Next one, negative 2y. The opposite of the sum of 4x and negative 9. I need to rewrite that problem to make sure that I don't get confused with the signs. I have 5x. I have negative 2y. I have 7. Now be careful with this part. The opposite of 4x is negative 4x. The opposite of negative 9 is positive 9. Now that I changed them all into addition, I can combine like terms. So I have 5x and negative 4x, and I have 7 and 9 to combine. 5x plus negative 4x is 1x, or just x. Then I can have negative 2y because it didn't change anything in any way. And then I have 7 plus 9 is 16. X plus negative 2y plus 16. Last couple here, and they're pretty long, so let's be careful when we are doing those. First, change all subtraction into addition of the opposite. So negative 6z and plus negative 4y. Now that I have pluses everywhere, I don't have to worry about parentheses. So I have 5x and 2x that I can combine, which is 7x. I have 3y and negative 4y, which will result in negative 1y, or just negative y. And then I have negative 6z and 13z. When I add them, I will get 7z. So I get 7x plus negative y plus 7z. Let's look at this one, last one here. Negative 4 and the opposite of 5x plus 2. Since I have the opposite of the sum, I will have to rewrite it. So 2x plus 3y plus negative 4 plus the opposite of 5x is negative 5x. The opposite of 2 is negative 2. Now I'm combining them together. 2x and negative 5x is negative 3x. 3y doesn't have anything. It stays as 3y. And negative 4 and negative 2 can be combined to be negative 6. So I have negative 3x plus 3y plus negative 6. That is our lesson. So just to make sure that you remember, always change the subtraction to addition of the opposite. And when you have only addition problems, you can work with different order of adding them together. Okay, so here's your homework on the next page. And that homework, I believe it's only one page. Yes, it is only one page. Get that done, and I will see you in class.